again. Episode 5 of the Shoot the Shit podcast. It's me, Adrian Miles, back with my homeboy Lion. What's happening?
Hey, what's going on, man? Another week.
Yeah, definitely. And just as always, subscribe Apple's podcast, SoundCloud, Google Play, and so I guess to top everything off, let's kind of get right into it. I guess with some fun stuff off the top. So I guess the first thing we talk about is J.R. Smith getting suspended for throwing soup at Damon Jones. But I guess two things with that. One, I'm not surprised. That J.R. Smith would do something like out of the ordinary to get suspended. And secondly, the fact that Damon Jones was involved, realizing how Damon Jones was during his playing career.
Right.
But let me hear your thoughts on it.
It's like I'd have been better off if they had just said, conduct detrimental to the team, and then we just never heard it. But on the flip side, hearing that not only was it him going after an assistant coach, but with a bowl of soup, all things, it just adds to the legend, man. You couldn't make this stuff up. Like,
yeah, man.
So I kind of thought of it a different way. Like, yeah, I definitely thought about Damon Jones, and I remember how he was as a player. But it got me thinking, we see nowadays where a lot of the assistant coaches are former players not too far removed. And I wonder if there's a difference in the dynamic of having like a younger coach, either a younger head coach or younger assistant coach versus like back in the day where it was like all old heads coaching the teams. Maybe these dudes are a little too familiar, with each other, or maybe they don't view them the same way. Because I can't imagine a player throwing, going after an assistant coach that was a lot older. And obviously the PJ Carlesimo thing was different, and that was the head coach. But I would imagine that maybe it's different. Although I think from what I understand, this had to do with him being benched. So maybe it wouldn't have mattered. But if it's a different, maybe it's because it's Damon Jones, maybe it's because he's a younger coach, or maybe it's just because he got benched. Who knows? Maybe all three. It probably wasn't a smooth conversation, but that's pretty serious, though. You go after an assistant coach. They gave him the one game, and I kind of heard somebody mention it, and I was surprised too. I'm surprised they didn't give him more than one game to send a message.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's probably all the context with everything, like how the conversation might have went, and like to your point about like the younger assistant coaches. I think it's like a gift and a curse with everything. Like more relatable, especially if they're fresh out the league, a couple years out of the league, stuff like that. Or even to the point they maybe even played with or against some of the players they're now coaching.
Right.
A little bit more relatable, but also that familiarity, that comfortability. You're more likely to have situations like this where the player's a lot more comfortable, voices and concerns in a non-constructive manner, so to speak, to kind of basically just to curse them out, the point blank, go back and forth, curse them out that way. So it's I think it's a give and take. It's a gift and a curse with it. But like I said, just remember how Damon Jones was, and when he played, he talked cash shit. He was like one of those what they call irrationally confident guys.
Oh, big time.
Yeah, so I'm quite sure that probably hasn't got out of the system as of yet. But it was just, like you said, this adds to the legend of J.R. Smith, man. Shit was classic, man.
Heck yeah, a bowl of soup, man. Like not
like of all things.
Yeah, I can see if you say you threw a sandwich at him, or maybe you just threw a plate. You threw a cup, but a freaking bowl of soup. So that was like the first thing. The second thing I thought of was like, who cleaned that up? Like, was it all over him? Like who cleaned that up? Did he go to the bathroom and have to clean himself off? Talking about Damon Jones. Like how did that play out? Like to be in that room, was this in front of other people? Or did they like storm out of a meeting room? Was this in the cafeteria? I mean, like what happened?
Yeah, was the soup hot? Was it lukewarm?
Right.
Was it cold?
Was it lukewarm? Was it cold?
Was it Campbell's? Was it Progresso? Was it homemade? There's a lot of layers to it, man.
It's kind of cold recently, so I'm thinking it might have been something a little more hearty, maybe like a chowder or minestrone or something. I don't know. I don't think it was chicken noodle.
What if it was tomato soup?
That's just ignorant.
Yeah,
that's never coming out, man. Like his shit is done.
But yeah, so that was classic. Then probably I guess the next thing after that, same game. Did you see the behind the back splitting the double tween, nutmegging Tristan Thompson that LeBron pulled off?
Craziness, man. And I'm like, in seriousness, it probably wasn't intentional, but the fact that he still pulled it off just adds to the legend. Like, I'm pretty sure he meant to go behind the back. Yeah, I have to be very skeptical that he actually planned to go behind the back and through his teammates' legs. I think it just happened to be perfect timing. But either way, it played out perfectly, so it just adds to the legend. I mean, that was like a trick play, like some Globetrotter stuff.
Yeah, and he got the N one.
And he got the fight, and he finished the play. Thank you. And he finished the play.
Like, and I'm watching it in real time. Like, you watching it in real time, you don't realize exactly what happened. Then you see the replays. It's like, wait a minute. Like, it went through Tristan Thompson, man. Like, what's going on? Like, it's like some video game, like some NBA Live type stuff.
Yep. Yeah, that's legendary, man. I'm like, that's definitely going on his extensive highlight reel. I mean, it was exactly like you said. It was like a game, like a trick. You couldn't try that 9 other times and have it. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah.
But kids are gonna run out and try to pull that off, man. Somebody's gonna pull it off, man.
Yeah,
I
just saw a nasty dime tonight. I think Bledsoe, it was the Bucks game.
Yeah, man.
He like double clutched under the basket, wraps it behind his back, and kicks it out all the way to the for 3. It's like near the top.
Yeah, man. Jason Terry had to make it, man. He couldn't miss it.
Exactly. You gotta finish. You gotta finish on that type of play.
Then they'll probably transition to the next thing. I know you've seen it, the James Harden, Wesley Johnson.
It's been some pretty disrespectful plays this week. That one was like the only thing missing was that dude with the loud voice that does like the Rucker games or the N1 tapes.
Oh baby.
That was the only thing missing. I mean, it was yeah, I don't know, man. There's been some good entertainment recently. I mean, obviously, I know it's just one play, but he took dude's soul, and of course, social media got on him. His Wikipedia page kind of pretty much killed him off. I saw an injury report the next day, and it said Harden in parentheses. Yeah, I mean, that was just nasty, man. And again, he finished the play. That's what makes it even better. Like, you got to finish the play. That used to always be my big thing back in the AM1 days or the record things. Like, somebody gonna shake and bake you, the crowd going, ooh. But if he missed, it don't matter, man. You got to finish. You got to finish the play.
Yeah, man. Like, the bench was going, like, I don't know how many times I had to see like at least 10, 15 times.
Yeah.
It's like, then you're like, watch it and just isolate the bench, like watch the bench reactions.
Yeah.
Slow it down. It's like watching PJ Tucker, man, the way he like kind of got up and just walked off the bench. like he was ready to go home. It was the first quarter, man. Like, the game just started, man.
Yeah, but when I looked at the because I saw the replay, I wasn't watching it live. And I saw that was the first quarter, But then when I looked down at the score, I'm like, it was like what, 28-7? It was something crazy, like
31-7, yeah.
31-7. And I'm like, what the heck happened here?
It was like all the optics of it, man, was just crazy. I was saying, like, at that point, like, Wesley Johnson just had to get up and like start a fake argument with Teodosic, man. Like, blame it on him, just curse him out, man.
Yeah, or pull a Jason Kidd and throw some water on the court or something.
Yeah, man. Just walk off and go into the tunnel, man. Like,
I've seen a lot of bad ones, but the distance, like, it's almost like he took a charge the way he slid.
yeah,
almost like. You remember the Madden games back in the beginning? I'm talking like Madden 92. And
yeah.
And if somebody got hurt, the ambulance would run onto the field, and it would just start hitting the players, and the players would just go flying across the field.
Yep.
That's the way he slid on the cross. That's what it reminded me of.
Oh man!
But the good news is, it's not like it's the NFL and it's once a week. Short memory. He'll be on the top plays this week. Somebody else will get posterized or tore up between now and the end of the week, and then go into the playoffs. So hopefully for that young man, it'll be short term. But that was nasty. It was just the refs even let going back to what you saying about the bench. The refs gave them a pass. Them guys got off the bench. They were like running onto the floor, going up the sidelines. They didn't penalize anybody. They just let that one go.
Yeah, man. And even Wesley Johnson at the end of everything, when he finally got back up and ran down the court, he started smiling and laughed it off. Like,
you got to
take that.
Got to. What else can you do? Because see, the flip side is getting salty, like the way Jordan Clarkson did at the end of the Sixers game.
Yeah,
that's what you don't want to do.
but then again, he really couldn't do much. It was still so early in the game. This is the first quarter. He still got 3 more quarters left.
That's true.
But I guess in Jordan Clarkson's defense, like, the game was pretty much a wrap.
It was rubbing it in, but
yeah,
you can't lose your cool like that, man.
Look, man, sometimes the game is a game, man. You gotta do what you gotta do, man.
Right. I'm not mad at the homie, man. They call Dario the homie now, so
the homie, yeah. Yeah, and speaking of the Sixers, and we probably touch on them a little bit later, but it's a big win they got tonight, man, coming back against Charlotte.
Yeah, they had to wrap up after they were that Miami one kind of went the other way, and they just came out flat the game before against the Wizards, so they had to kind of finish this road trip strong. Well, actually, they were back home, so they had to finish strong, though. They had to finish this little stand pretty strong.
Yeah, it was the fifth game out of 7.
Yeah,
7 days.
Yeah,
but we'll come back to them though. But that was a big win. I guess the next thing we probably can touch on. I think we'll jump to the Anthony Davis talk. So I was gonna run some numbers at you real quick.
Okay.
So Boogie went down January 26th. So if everybody will know that's DeMarcus Cousins. So Anthony Davis' number since DeMarcus Cousins went out, he's averaging 33 points a game, just under 38 minutes, 13 rebounds, over 2.5 blocks, just over 2 steals, about 50% from the field, 34% from 3, and 83% from the free throw line. And the team has gone 9-5 since. Like, it's ridiculous.
That's
on top of everything off. They're what, like a game out of the 3rd spot?
That's the surprising part there. I hadn't really been paying attention to the West standings. When I heard that, though, I was a little surprised because I'm used to them being like competing for 7th, 8th or something, but I'm like 3rd. That's definitely impressive. Obviously, a lot of it has to do with Cousins being out, so that's not to take away anything from him. But looking over a full season, I probably don't bump his MVP voting up a little, but it'll have to be sustained over, I guess, it's not even 30 games remain. It's probably a good 15, 20 games left.
20 games, yeah.
They'd have to. I don't think the last 30 or so is enough to pull him compared to if he did it for like a lot or most of the season. Like Westbrook last year, regardless of what you thought about him, I mean, he pretty much pulled those numbers the whole season. It wasn't like no hot stretch at the end or just one part. So AD is definitely killing it right now. But I'm like, to me, for somebody to really get MVP consideration at the end of the year, I kind of feel like you need to lead the league in one of those categories, whether it's points, rebounds or blocks. Like, he's not going to lead the league in assists as a center or a big, but if he could finish tops in one of those categories, points, rebounds, or blocks, and be maybe second or third in one or two of the other categories, then he could really probably be in like the top 3 or 4 conversation. Of course, you're going to have Harden. They're always going to put LeBron in there because it's LeBron, but realistically, you could probably say like a Harden for some consideration. Of course, somebody from the Warriors, I guess they'd pick Durant. I don't know. He definitely would be up there. He could finish second or third. In voting. I mean, it's probably Harden's to lose at this point. I don't think they would give it to Westbrook like they did last year. So, but he'd definitely be up there. Probably, top 3 in voting, I would think, maybe.
Yeah, it's what's crazy about, like, even before he got in his hot streak, he was still like around like top 5 and scoring like top 10 in rebounds and like top 5 or whatever, like in blocks. But outside of all that, it's like probably because he's in New Orleans, like people kind of forgot about him.
Yeah.
Like it was, when he first came in the league, first pick in the draft and everything, like they say like he's like the original unicorn, so to speak.
Right.
But all the new shiny new toys come in, kind of forget about him and kind of fall to the wayside. But he's like legitimately like top 2 is like it's no argument. It's like LeBron's clearly number 1, KD is clearly number 2, but then it's like another tier after that. He's arguably the top player in that next tier. Him, Harden, Curry. Who else you can name? Probably throw in there like Westbrook.
Yeah, that's fair.
It's like another tier, like 4 or 5, maybe 6 players. Kawhi before he got hurt.
Yeah.
And he's like right in the mix, like right at the top of that tier. And that kind of shows like the top part in terms of talent in the league, how strong that group is and how young that group is. Like he's 24? He's not even 25 yet.
I know. It seemed like he'd been in so long, but with the one and done, these guys, are usually 18, 19, 19 when they start. So, even like LeBron, like he's 33. Feel like he'd be in the league forever, but he's only 33. Same thing with Kobe. Like he played 20 seasons, but he retired at still in his 30s. So it's like, he still got a lot of potential. Davis does. It's just as long as he doesn't really have too many more injury setbacks, he definitely, his legacy can definitely be built like that. But I think going back to what you said in the beginning, I definitely think the location does hurt him. Like being in New Orleans definitely takes away from the coverage and all the hype. Like if he was somewhere like LA or New York or a bigger market, he would have way more he would have way more hype.
Yeah.
I'm not even saying he needs the hype, but he would have way more attention if he was in a bigger market than New Orleans. It's just, and plus that team never really has it kind of reminds me of the Portland thing with with Dame and like being in that type of market, like, because I was talking about this with somebody else, and Dame Lillard is on some other team. It's probably a lot different, but he's in Portland, so it's like, it's just you just don't get that wow factor.
Yeah, and like speaking of Dame Lillard real quick, like he's been playing out his mind, man. He's been playing nuts lately. Like I think I saw something. He was like last 5, 6 something games. he was like averaging over like 30-something points a game. Like his stretch was like similar to like Anthony Davis's stretch. But like you said, like playing in the Pacific Northwest, the only team up there, he kind of right in the middle of that shuffle of those 6 or 7 teams fight for the playoffs. You get lost in the mix.
Yeah.
Like you really have to be on national TV, like them Saturday night games, for people to really like take notice and appreciate what you do.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Anthony Davis is right there with him. And then the fact that his team has only been in the playoffs one time since he's been in the league.
Yeah.
And when they were there, they got swept against a very good Golden State team that won the chip that year. And in that series, like he separated himself then. So it's like you see that, see what he's doing now. It's only 24. And then what you said, which is even more crazy, that he still has a lot more potential left in him. It's how much better can he possibly get? It's
Right.
unfathomable.
Right.
But then saying all that, will it even matter? Because it's so much talent in the league and the other teams in the league. Like he could continue to get better. He could put up the numbers he's put right now over the last month, like for a full season, the next couple seasons, and he still might not even sniff the second round of playoffs. The team he plays on.
I know, and that's what leads me to say I hate to say it, but it's a shame. It's a shame what happened with Cousins, because obviously with them two, you could probably build around. But to me, if Davis wanted to really get to that next level, he got to go somewhere else. He got to go somewhere else. And it seemed like that was going to happen probably last year before they made the Cousins trade, because they weren't really giving him anything. Having him kind of gave him an opportunity to weigh things over and see how it could be. But I think like him joining someone else, and I'm not even necessarily saying like no super team stuff, I just think him joining somewhere else is what's going to do that. I just don't think it's going to happen in New Orleans, because, you know, the way the league is and the way these guys kind of weigh their options, like that's not really an attractive destination for guys. Like even though they'd had the chance to play with him, it's not really an attractive destination as far as like the market where they're going to be living and things. You know, the exception to that's probably like a San Antonio, because they kind of built a winning culture going back to the 90s. So guys were willing to come in. But most of these small market teams are at a disadvantage. Like, you know, the Knicks or the Lakers could be garbage for like 20 years, but people will still flock there because they're the biggest markets and they got the history, you know, the rich history and legacy type things. But you know, the Pelicans don't really have that. So I don't know. I kind of agree with you. I don't think he's going to get too far staying there. I don't know where he would go, but I just don't think that's going to happen. Who knows? You know, maybe he comes to the East or something. I don't know, but I don't think it's going to work there. And you know,
I think with the biggest thing is players are more aware of, you know, how organizations are being ran.
Yeah.
Now, so even you can still have it in New York and LA, like they've been in bigger markets. But if it's a mess, if the organization is a mess, if it's a shitty organization, the GM is suspect, those types of things, it makes it that much harder to kind of entice players to come there.
Yeah.
So that's like the one disadvantage with the Knicks for the past 10 to 15 years. Like the history's there, big market, sellouts, Madison Square Garden, everything. But it's been pretty much a shit show for the past like 15 years. You know, you got one off years here and there, but overall it's like, okay, like this, like, no, I'm good. Like from back when Isaiah Thomas was, you know, running things over there, he's like the GM and coach, whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
Then the whole Phil Jackson thing. It's, you know, a lot of guys are probably like wait and see before I make that move back to New York. Like you got Porzingis. I mean, unfortunately, he got hurt. But he's similar type of situation to Anthony Davis, but even though he's in a bigger market.
Yep.
He may put those crazy numbers, the talents and everything, but until cats around him in the league say, okay, New York got that shit together, I wanted to come there, then they can start bringing in free agents. And kind of with the Lakers, fat probably the last 5 years, ever since they made that Dwight Howard, Steve Nash trade. They haven't been right since.
Yeah.
But they bring Pelinka in, they bring Magic in, they kind of slowly turn around the culture. Jenny Buss is, finally she kind of runs the organization now and everything. And lo and behold, they got kind of lucky in the draft the past couple years. With Alonzo, Brandon Ingram, Julius Randle, even if he stays leave, Kyle Kuzma especially.
That was a big one for them, I think. Yeah,
that's a big one. Even Josh Hart.
Yeah, I like that pickup for them.
And then even the guys that they traded, Jordan Clarkson. They picked him up late. I think he was a second rounder. Larry Nance is a late first rounder. So they've been drafting pretty well the last couple of years, which is kind of how you make your own luck. Like if you bring in, you draft well, develop those guys, you get one of those guys to develop into all-star, superstar type, then you get lucky bringing a free agent. Just like that, things turn around. That's kind of what happened to Golden State, if you really think about it.
Yeah, they got a right mix of picks finally, but they had been in that lottery for a long time.
For a long time, they picked Steph. They got lucky with Steph because the ankle injuries.
Right.
So they able to give him a below market contract, a second contract.
Right.
Got lucky with Klay Thompson because he fell in the draft because he like to tote up back in college. That was kind of the rumor. Kind of indulging the medicinals. We got lucky with Draymond Green, so on and so forth. Then they get lucky. They make the cap room, sign KD after they won a chip all time. The most wins in the regular season, so on and so forth. They lost that year, 3-1 and everything.
Right.
But the fact is, they kind of made their own luck. But that's organizational.
Yeah.
Top down.
Yeah.
New Orleans, Dell Demps, he doesn't have that reputation of a guy that's going to turn around that way.
Right.
They traded a shitload of draft picks. They kind of bring in some of the guys they brought in, and they don't really have any cap room. So you add all that up, then Boogie getting hurt. I mean, it's awesome what Anthony Davis is doing and the fact that they at the point where they at, but going forward, to your point again, he may have to end up going somewhere else to get the glory that he's ultimately looking for, to get the accolades he's ultimately looking for.
Yeah, I just think that's the way. I mean, now obviously you've had other teams a little further back. For example, Sacramento Kings took a small market team and overachieved when they had that pretty good run and almost got to the finals. So that was like one of those exceptions to the rule.
And then look what they did after that.
Right. Not a thing since.
Yeah, the Kings going Kings. They end up the Maloofs end up lost. They couldn't run the organization. They were strapped for cash.
Right.
Weber got hurt. His career was done after that. Then when they finally got a new owner in, Ronadive, and then they got Vadi as the GM, pretty much. And then look what they did in the draft. It starts with nowadays. Everybody's aware of a lot of things. Like I said, it starts with the organization, top down, the GMs and the ownership. You build that culture, then you can kind of bring in the cast of free agents. And you get lucky in the draft, then you can bring in free agents.
Yeah.
But like you said, you got to get lucky with your small market team. Got to get lucky. Sacramento got lucky, but then it's what you do after that.
Yeah.
To kind of sustain all of that, and that's what San Antonio was ahead of everybody else. They got lucky twice,
right?
But they ran with it.
Yeah, they did.
And they got lucky with David Robinson. Yeah. And they tanked. Now, even though a lot of people don't want to admit it, they tanked to get Tim Duncan.
Heck yeah, they did. but it worked for them, it worked. So, people always want to downplay the aspects of tanking, but everyone knows that you have to do it. Going back to Sam Hinkie, the old school people and the league executives don't want to promote a mindset like that. But he was dead on. Like, you're either going to be really bad or really good. Otherwise, you just average for years. You might win the first round. You'll get a mid-round draft pick, but you'll never be a real contender. So it's like you either got to bottom out or you got to rise to the top. So those are the only two options to win in the league.
Yeah, and you got to be like damn near a genius, like Daryl Morey, to kind of flip the way that he did it. Like Houston never really tanked.
Right.
But if you see all the different transactions that he did, the lead up to get to James Harden,
right?
Like that's some next level shit right there.
Yeah.
And then you had to put the right pieces around him, and then then create another opportunity to get another Hall of Fame caliber player in Chris Paul.
Yeah.
Like the trickerations that he did to pull that deal off, like signing all them non-guaranteed cats to deals, just so you can get the salaries to match to make that trade for Chris Paul, so you don't have to clear any cap space,
right?
And then to give the Clippers assets that they felt comfortable with, so they could go ahead and make that trade. Like it was one of those situations where it was kind of, even though one team is giving up like a generational talent, a Hall of Fame caliber pair, it was kind of like a win-win for both teams.
Yeah. Kind of like that Lakers Cavs trade. You know, they both got something out of it that they wanted. So
Houston got what they want out of it to compete now with Golden State, and the Clippers got what they needed to get out of it, so they don't end up losing Chris Paul for nothing,
right?
And still remain competitive,
right?
So, and then they turn right around and flip Blake Griffin, and kind of did the same exact thing. Like they trade an all-star Blake Griffin and turn around and get, smart NBA caliber players, rotational players to help them continue to compete. And they, mess around, still might make the playoffs doing all that.
Yeah, they're not doing too bad, considering.
So it's like, consider everything. Now it's going to be, okay, so they made their own luck with those two deals. What's going to be that follow-up now?
Yeah.
And that's what it has to be. Then you come back with Philadelphia, even though Sam Hinkie got the short end of the stick. At the end of the day, they got what they needed to get done.
His plan definitely has worked, up to this point. I mean, it took some risk, and like you said, it took the ultimate risk in him not even keeping his job, but everything that he was doing has led up to where they are now, where it's competitive. You're seeing now they got a chance to maybe be on the upper half of the seeding, and a boatload of money to spend this summer on a marquee name or two. So it's like they're right where they need to be, considering what happened.
Yeah, and since we're here, we might as well just go ahead and jump into it. So I'm gonna throw some more numbers at you.
Mm-hmm.
So since January 1st, since the beginning of the year, it's the Cleveland tonight. That record is 17-8. So then if you want to go any deeper with the advanced numbers, coming into tonight, they're 12th in offensive rating.
Mm-hmm.
Number 2 in defensive rating. That's per 100 possessions.
Mm-hmm.
4th in net rating is plus six. Number 1 in rebound percentage. Number 8 in true shooting percentage. So they basically playing like I said, they're playing like a top 4 team in the league right now. So they basically playing to the level where Houston, Boston, Toronto, Golden State, and that little group where they've been doing all season. But the two big things, which may end up costing them in the long run when they try to make that run, close out the season, they're 25th in assist to turnover ratio and 29th in turnover percentage.
Yeah, the turnovers have definitely been, they definitely show their youth in a lot of games with the bad possessions, the bad turnovers. It's like their youth is their upside and their downside at this point. But the ceiling is high, so even though you see Embiid who's only gotten up to about 80 games so far in his career. And so he's yet to really still even hit that high level. And same thing with Simmons. Like, beginning of the year, you couldn't get him to take any shots. Starting to, he slashes, but he's starting to take jump shots and settle.
Yeah.
And, you just never know. These guys get to postseason, something might click. And depending on the matchups, it's always about the matchups. It don't really matter about the record. They have gone toe to toe with the Wizards so far. They've hung tight with Cleveland the whole year. They've gotten a couple with them. And even out west, they had split a few with the Rockets. The first game they lost with the Rockets, they actually should have won, but
they ended up beating them on the road.
Oh yeah, I mean he's killing it right now. But we live and die with our shooters.
Yeah,
to me,
and like most teams in the league do, because of the way the league is transition, like you can kind of ride those ebbs and flows with the 3-point shooting. Like, regressing to the mean. Like, teams have those hot streaks throughout the year, and eventually things start to come back down to earth and like kind of even out. But Sixers, especially because of the pace that they play with, I think they're top 2, top 3 in like pace in the league.
Yeah, they were saying they got
number 3 they shoot.
6 of the fastest.
The way they move the ball, pass the ball, and everything. And with all that said, that kind of I think I mentioned it before. That kind of gets me like early in the year we ought to talk about. I guess people were growing wary of Brett Brown and trying to get him up out of there. But I think it always was just a matter with him. Like, he could coach, in my opinion, from what I saw, he always can coach.
Yeah.
It was getting the level of talent to match what he was actually trying to do and trying to accomplish. And you see that coming to fruition now.
Yeah.
And then you look at the moves they just added, bringing Ilyasova back and bringing Bellinelli in. 2 guys that, Ilyasova, of course, last year when he played with the Sixers for like 53 games.
Yeah.
And Bellinelli, who played with Brett Brown when he was in San Antonio.
Right.
He's got rotational guys and guys who understand and fit the system.
Yeah. They know their roles when they come in.
Exactly. And it's already paying off dividends already. You can see, like, tonight with Ilyasova, I think what he had, I forget what he had, 13, 18? I think he had like 18 tonight. And then like Bellinelli had like the same amount his first time playing at home for the Sixers. And they play Miami.
Man, Bellinelli, the first night he played, he came in and just started lighting it up like right away. Yeah, it's like the microwave, man. He just turned that thing on.
And he's been that way his whole career. I remember when he first came to the league, Golden State Summer League.
Okay.
And he thought he was like the Italian Jordan, man. He came in like he was same way, on fire, man, lighting up the league. Like, oh man, this dude's gonna be a beast, man. But of course, that was Golden State pre everything. That was the Golden, like our Golden State was that we grew up and knew to love. Yeah. It just didn't work out for him. Yeah. Then he ended up kind of floating around. But he's always been like the same player, high basketball IQ, can pass, can create, and can shoot. So, like, just exactly what a young team need, especially making a stretch run and going to the playoffs. So, my question to you, hopefully you can be as unbiased as possible.
Sure.
The reality of them possibly, leapfrog. I think they're like 6 now.
Mm-hmm.
They're possibly into the 3rd spot because they're only like 2 games behind Cleveland.
Well, here's the thing. And I know we both heard this, probably talked about a little bit, but the second half of the season after the All-Star break, they had the easiest rated schedule as far as teams with remaining games. They're head-to-heads against teams with winning records. They got the easiest path to finish with a favorable seed out of anyone. However, that means you have to win the games that you're supposed to win. So losing that Wizards game, losing that Heat game does not help your cause, because had they won those 2 games, they would have been I think either up to 4th or 5th, as opposed to still sitting back at 6th, because going into the Cleveland game, they were 3.5 behind Cleveland. But there's so much going on because obviously the top 3 seeds are the divisional winners. So it's like, oh, that's right. They changed the seeding though. So
they changed it. That doesn't even matter no more.
They changed the seeding. Never mind. So that's why I'm like, wait a minute. That's not going to matter. I think they could push for the 4th or the 5th. To do the 3rd one, I don't think they can really lose more than maybe 4 games for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
If they lose more than 4 games, it's not going to happen because you got to do catch up and get ahead and then hold the lead. And looking at the teams, it's doable. But the discipline, you know, it's those kind of like what you mentioned. It's that basketball IQ. It's not having the turnovers. They've gotten better at not blowing leads, but
yeah,
it's really going to still come back down to the shooters. Like the nights where Dario and JJ are on, we usually win. But when one of those two is off, they usually lose. Now obviously getting these last couple guys, Ilyasova and Bellini, that helps because now you got more rotation for your shooters. But it's like 50-50. I'm not like saying 100% they can make the 3rd seed, but I'll say right now, kind of like some other things in their future, it's about 50-50 right now, them getting the 3rd seed.
Because you look at that like that schedule, like 21 games left. Yeah, it's pretty much like almost even in terms of like home and road split. 11 games at home, 10 games on the road. It's going to come down to like how they finish. If they finish like how they've been playing like throughout the season, they probably won't end up coming just short the 3rd seed, probably like a game or 2 behind. Like you said, end up like in that 4th, 5th range. But if they kind of finish the way they've been playing since the new year, then that's when I think that the math starts to change a little bit, and they have a greater shot. They maybe even be like you can pull even with Cleveland, or maybe a game ahead of them, a game behind them. Like right there. I think that's gonna be the biggest thing. They're gonna have to continue to play at like a top 5, defensive team throughout the remainder of the half of the season. And
almost been solid.
Yeah, almost be like a top 10 offensive team. If they can do that, I don't know how sustainable everything is, but if they can continue to do that, then I think they definitely have a chance. But like you said, with the way the schedule is, it's almost like 50-50. I mean, it's really a coin flip right now.
Yeah.
All things being even. Because it doesn't look like Kevin Love's going to come back, anytime soon.
Right.
For Cleveland. If anything, it'll be either the last week of the season or as soon as the playoffs start.
Right.
He does come back. So they have that, working for him. But can you imagine how, it's still the Wells Fargo Center, right?
Yeah.
How the Wells Fargo Center is going to be if they have home court advantage in the first round and that first home playoff game in 5 years, 6 years?
It's going to be ridiculous, man. Like, it's going to be – they're starting to become a tough place to play. Like, besides the Toronto game, there's not too many times that they didn't have a close home game. Like, the Toronto game, they just got smoked.
Yeah.
But outside of that, most of their home games have been pretty competitive, even when they've lost. And recently, they done won, like, I think 11 straight at home.
Yeah.
So it's definitely becoming a good place to play for them. And, it's just going to be about the matchups, man. Like, I don't know who the projected 6 would, we talking about how we could make the 3. I'd have to look at who's going to be at that 6th spot.
Probably either like Milwaukee, like that whole like Milwaukee, Indiana, Miami, like that group.
Yeah, I mean, in a 7-game series, you probably could take a few from them. It would be big for these guys' psyche and for their confidence if they could, if they can get out that first round. They could definitely build off that going into the next year, and then that also will kind of be a showcase for these free agents. Like, look, this is where we are. We 1 player away. You could be that difference. So how they showcase themselves in the playoffs could be a big part of, you know, who decides that they want to, you know, step into this and be that missing piece.
And then they might not even need that because they got the #1 draft pick, only played 4 games this year.
True.
And if he can be a reasonable facsimile of how he was in college, what they miss is they might already have it.
The shooter.
Yeah, it's another playmaker. Someone can get their own shot and create shots for others.
Yeah.
Then on top of that, that Lakers pick, if they don't give it up to Boston, that could be a top 8, top 9, probably like a top 10 pick. Top 10 pick.
Yeah, because I don't think they'll get the #1, but I don't think the Lakers are finishing 2 through 5. So
yeah, like the Lakers kind of pulled away from that group of 8. That's like, you know, the Take-a-Palooza, the bar phrase that's going on.
Phoenix and Dallas and Memphis and them.
Yeah, the Lakers kind of separate themselves from that group. They've been playing pretty well as of late.
Yeah.
So looking like the 9th, 10th pick.
Yeah.
That's the case. Things hold up. Which, you know, in the past you can get a rotation player 9th or 10th if you do what you're supposed to. And shoot, I mean that's that plus, you know, Markelle Fultz. You might can just kind of, you know, hold off on some of your cap room and kind of go and kind of grow internally from there. But that's projecting further down the road. But bottom line is everything is pretty exciting, man.
Yeah, it's definitely up and up right now. You know, the city is it's got some bright futures. So we're gonna see. We're gonna see.
Yeah, I guess when they make their playoffs, man, you might have to do a live podcast from the first home playoff game or something.
Yeah. That would be something. Yes, it's been a while. It's been a while since they've been in the playoffs. So
yeah, that last year they was in the playoffs with 2012.
Mm-hmm.
I was there for the game 6 that they clinched against Chicago.
Okay.
The Iguodala game when he made those free throws to clinch it.
Okay.
That was nuts. Like and that team was like mediocre. Like the team pulled a break with D-Rose hurt. But to be in that arena.
Thad Young, Iguodala, and them.
Yeah. Who else was there? Was Lou Williams still there? I think so.
I think so.
Drew Holiday.
Yeah.
Yeah, Spencer Hawes. Like we start running off the names. Like, how the hell they make the playoffs first, and how the hell
they had no
pushed the 7 games, man.
No business being there, man. But see, that was the type of stuff they used to give people false hope because they say, "Oh, you don't need to tank. Look, you were just in the playoffs." Then you're like, "Look at this roster. They could never go to the finals with that roster, ever."
No, man. Then they turned that around and try to flip and bring Andrew Bonham, and that was whew.
They tried. But you know,
that's when
I got the ball rolling, man. I got the ball rolling with Hinkie. So.
Yeah, I know. Right.
It took the Bynum for him to be like, "Nah, we scrapping everything."
Yeah.
You know, and the owner was with it, so
they were with it till he wasn't with it. Yeah.
Yeah, he's with it to the league. Approached him.
Yeah. It looked like was it Josh Harris? Like he was with a couple other things too. I saw his name get popped up.
Yeah, he's sliding some money to Kushner and company, but some dirty. I don't know. I never really. He always seemed a little shy, a little shady to me. Anyway, so I'm not surprised.
Yeah. But you know how the game is, man.
Yeah.
All these dudes that got billions of dollars, man, got their hands dirty, you know, quite a few times to get to the point where they got to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sitting real quick. I'm watching Minnesota-Utah game, and it's flashed a picture of Jay Crowder's pops I didn't know his pops played in the league. It was like for a year, but he played for Utah in '91, and he looked exactly like his pops.
Wow.
Just his pops ain't got dreads. That's like pops ain't got no hat, as a matter of fact, but exactly like that's crazy.
Didn't know that.
I didn't know that either. Guess it makes sense now. In the bloodline.
Yeah.
All right, so I guess and that's when we can transition to the recent Toronto Star article talking about DeMarr Derozan.
Yeah.
And it talks about mental health. So you got a chance to kind of read it through, right?
Yeah, I read it a couple times.
Yeah. So what were like your takeaways from when you read it? And I kind of share my thoughts after.
I thought it was interesting in a couple different ways. Like, you typically don't really see a lot of pro athletes open up or be like real vulnerable. And I think part of it is generational, he's in that category, I guess you would consider a millennial. I don't think you would have had any guys from like Generation X or prior talking about their feelings or any of that. There was so much stigma in those times anyway. But it's like here you have this young guy, but not just a young guy. I mean, a young guy from Compton. So it's like you don't expect him to open up this way. But then when you look at him being from Compton, it makes sense of why he's saying what he said. Like, he's lost, friends and family to violence, experienced this trauma in different ways. And so I'm sure that probably plays a part in his in depression that he's had, like going locally. Robert Covington for the Sixers, right after his contract got signed, or right around the time his contract got signed, he lost one of his best friends. One of his best friends died, and he ain't been the same since, in my opinion. Like, people were saying, man, he hasn't been the same since he signed the contract. I don't really think it's the contract as much as what happened to that close friend. So going back to DeRozan, he's lost people over the years, violence and different things. And I think that just took its toll on him. But the other aspect, I was kind of looking at this. I mean, I think there's more people like that than we know, but they bottle it up. And I think particularly for high profile athletes, the successful ones that get highly paid, I think there's a lot of pressure on them, compared to, let's say, a role player or an average guy.
Definitely.
When you get paid that big contract, everybody expects you to perform every night and to be perfect. If a top star misses a shot, it's like, oh, come on, you got to make that shot. If a role player misses, they're gonna be like, well, he ain't, he might have had no business taking that shot, or maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. I just think there's this unrealistic pressure that gets put on superstars and well-known athletes, kind of like the Tiger Woods effect. Like, you're expected to win, or you're expected to do well all the time, and God forbid you have an off night. Especially now with social media stuff, they're ready to bury you under the church now. And I just think maybe the pressure sometimes gets to these guys. Like, you can have all this money and have these max contracts and these big contracts, but the pressure, he might suffer from anxiety or something. I think that might be a part of this, like the anxiety and the pressure of everything.
And then, like you alluded to, like growing up in those environments, man, like that PTSD, like that shit is real. Like growing up, like you lose people, like you're in war, like you lose people around you, like see people, drop in front of you violently. That stuff wears on you. Like, it doesn't go away. Like, especially at such a young age.
Yeah.
No matter how much money you make, no matter how much, notoriety or whatever or fame that you achieve, like, though that hurt, that pain, that doesn't go anywhere. And I think one thing that I kind of definitely related to in reading the story, another story about him, is how he's been going back and forth, spending time with his pops, taking care of his pops. He's been sick. I think he had like kidney disease. other issues, and that has took me back. Just my situation, just kind of dealing with my pops, and kind of my pops had a stroke and was running back and forth from Philly to Baltimore.
Yeah.
Trying to carry him, stuff like that. Eventually, unfortunately, I lost him. But just that wear and tear, like you got, like, your family is one thing, but then you got your regular everyday life you still got to deal with.
Right.
I mean, and not comparing the things that I had to deal with in any way, shape, or form, what he may have to deal with, but it's still everyday life, and you expect it to be a certain way.
Yeah.
From like certain people, and kind of like hold that together, and then you want to take it on top of that, what you may have dealt with or have gone through or experienced, coming up. Like me personally, I don't really share it to many people. I've been dealing with depression probably almost like 30 years now, if not longer. Like throughout my life, like it took a couple situations, especially like recently, losing my mom, losing my pops, to really understand and realize how that impacted me when I was growing up. A lot of those times where I thought just, I'm just sad or upset or whatever the case may be, or having a bad day.
Right.
That was really me having an episode of depression and not understanding it and not having the tools in place to kind of deal with it. And then being open and willing enough to kind of discuss it and share like how you feel in that particular point in time. You kind of just got to suck it up and like walk it off or whatever.
Mm.
And then like going through that's affected me. Now that I think, sit back and realize that affected me a lot of the decisions I made over the course of my life.
Yeah.
Like good decisions, bad decisions, all those decisions in between. And that shit just kind of wears on you after a while. And the kind of only way you kind of get over it and get through it is kind of like just kind of owning and kind of talking through it. Whether, your significant other, like, close friends, or shooting out even about this platform now, kind of putting out there like that. Those types of things are kind of therapeutic for you. And then kind of bring it back to his situation. I think he might like got to the point where he felt like he had to kind of like being more open and kind of getting off his chest. It started with a tweet.
Yeah.
And then it kind of just, then I think once he saw the reception that he got from when he put that tweet out there, he might have, this is just me kind of just, thinking like, oh, I'm good. I'm comfortable now. Now I can kind of open up a little bit more. And that's like, a lot of times that's like the first step. Start talking. You putting yourself out there, stepping outside your comfort zone. And then at least like the more conversations, more and more, you start getting stuff off you, releasing stuff that you didn't really know that was impacting you. And then you can kind of go from there and be able to actually kind of grow and learn and all those different types of things that you do as an adult. Be a functional adult.
Right.
But man, like just growing up in those types of environments and just whatever trauma you have to deal with, man, that shit just sits with you. And a lot of us not equipped to kind of deal with that. And that's why the drugs come into play.
Yeah.
It's probably why a lot of these young kids probably, dealing with, sipping lean and stuff like that, dealing a lot with the opiates and stuff, man.
Yeah.
Just want to escape everything.
Yeah.
Shit is real, but
that makes sense. And like you said,
I mean, because when you deal with those types of things, those types of issues, you're constantly looking for an escape. Sometimes those escapes are like a negative and make things worse. Like opiates and stuff like that. But sometimes your escape could be basketball in DeMarr Derozan's case.
Right.
That's probably the one place we felt comfortable, we felt safe, we felt like he probably really could be himself.
Right.
And he didn't have to guard himself.
Right.
He really open up and kind of display his like creativity and stuff like that, just really be him. And lucky for him, it's like he developed a support system around him through basketball to help him get to a point where he's at right now. But even still, with that success, still some lingering adverse effect to everything that he went through.
Well, you figure he's still a pretty young guy. I mean, he's in his early, what's he been in the league, 5 years? So he's in his mid.
No, a lot longer than that. He's like 28 now. Like 28, 29.
Okay. I don't know why I was thinking. Okay. All right.
Because he's definitely on the second contract. So I think he's
that's true.
7 years in. 7, 8 years in.
Okay.
Yeah, so, but you say it's still relative, like 28, 29. It's not old. That's still young, man.
Nah, not by any means. And, you know, you figure now obviously these guys have to grow up quick, you know, once you hit the league. But
Yeah,
from an age standpoint, you know, I kind of have this magic number of 25. I kind of feel like that's when, to me, 25 is more of a coming of age for people than 21 or anything else. That's when you start to evaluate yourself or start to maybe find your true identity of who you really are and what you're about around 25. So that's, to me, that's like when you start hitting the real adulthood nowadays.
yeah, and even still, it's like it's funny saying now being the age that we are now, being 38, I'm damn near 39. You don't When you sit back and reflect, you don't realize how immature and how much you still didn't know when you was in your 20s.
Oh heck yeah, man! You thought that was like
when you're
deal.
because when you're like a teenager, like, man, I can't wait till I hit 21, or man, I can't wait till I'm 25, this, that, and the third. But it's like, shit, you're still not that far from how you was when you was a teenager.
Right.
You just can drink legally. That's the only difference. you can rent a car. That's like only two different things.
You can rent a car from a dollar rent a car.
Yep.
Yeah,
But,
there was something you had mentioned too, talking about how depression and talking it out, and that concept of sucking it up. Especially for guys, is like society. At least for us, I kind of felt like it was kind of that element where you just suck it up because to be a guy you don't really show your vulnerabilities, and that was just how people perceived it to be. If if you're gonna be a man, you just hold that stuff in. But then holding the stuff in, kind of like going to the bathroom. You hold something in for too long and don't release it, it messes you up. So you gotta let it out somehow. And some people let it out in the like you said, in the negative way. Others channel it through something else. But you often don't even realize you in it when you in it.
Yeah. And that's kind of like the gift and curse. And once you have that awareness, exactly what it is, your triggers are, and when you have an episode and those types of things, like, okay, I recognize it now. But what do I do with it now that I recognize it? So that's a process in itself. The first process is actually figuring out what's going on. And once you figure out what's going on, it's figuring out how to handle and cope and deal with it like in a positive way to kind of get through it. Because I don't think it ever completely leaves you, but you just get better at handling it, and you find more positive outlets to kind of deal with it.
Right.
Yeah. But I not to stay too heavy, I think we transition to something that's kind of on those same lines. I don't know if you had a chance to check out the Kevin Durant, Michael Beasley interview they had with Michael Wright on ESPN.
Okay. Now, I heard about it, but nah.
Yeah, so it was the first dope thing I took from it was seeing the video portion of it and hearing Kevin Durant talk. You can hear the PG County in his voice. So it was like the first thing that kind of jumped out to me, being from that, I guess, that area, Baltimore, DC area, still completely different things, but you can easily pick it up. Like when you're around your people, it's like that for whatever reason, you just kind of slip back into everything your old way of talking. Like I guess code switching, which we can call it.
Yeah.
And it's like immediately came out. You hear my other interviews, you hear it a little bit, but like, man, he run his homeboy, he run his man. You immediately hear it. Like, and I kind of pick it up on myself. Like when I'm back home, I can hear myself like, picking it up. Like I never knew I had an accent, so I came up here. But now, going back and forth, like I'm up here, I probably say Boy and John more and more people that probably lived here their whole life. When I'm up here, and then when I go back home, all the twos and do's come back up. So that's what's funny, and that's what I kind of picked up with him when he was around Mike Beasley. But the biggest thing that I got from it was like legitimately how close they were. Like you today were like really like brothers. Like back when I'm telling a story where Mike Beasley used to come over to KD's crib or whatever. He'll bring his Xbox over, and sometimes he'll leave it at his crib even when he go back home, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Those little things you can tell, how close they were, like how they play on the same rec league team, then eventually on the same AAU team. Then going from there, both of them end up being, Big 12 player of the years, being the number 2 pick in the draft.
Yeah.
Like how crazy that is, like the probability of something like that having 2 people from the same exact neighborhood,
right?
Like having those similar type of accomplishments. It's like insane to kind of think about. And then, but then going from there, how that pass kind of like diverted, and them kind of talking, and actually kind of figuring out what might have played a part in it. Like, I think one thing Mike Beasley said that kind of jumped out to me. He was saying, they both had support systems when they got into the league, but the biggest difference was KD, when he came in the league, he had like all the cats around him, that played college ball, all like the good cats, with him, the good cats from the neighborhood to kind of be the support staff for him.
Mm.
And Mike Beasley got pretty much everybody else.
Mm.
And then the other thing was Mike Beasley getting drafted by Miami, and KD going to Seattle and eventually Oklahoma City. So the fact that being 19 in Miami as opposed to being 19 in Seattle.
Yeah, totally different environment.
Exactly. You can shoot just being 39 in Miami is probably a lot for somebody. Just imagine being 19 with money in that city. That's crazy. And then probably the other thing that made a lot of sense. Like KD was saying how, growing up, he stayed in the gym. Like his thing was like stay in the gym, constantly working on his game, constantly working, by himself, isolated. And with Mike, it came naturally to him. Like he played on the playground and played on the courts or whatever. He playing against grown men, getting rebounds over grown men. But because the game just came naturally to him, it was like so much easier to him. So he had a better feel for the actual game. Because, playing on the blacktop, playing on the playground, constantly playing games that way. Whereas KD, mostly he played by himself. Like work on his game, he had the skills and stuff like that, but everything, the IQ part of the game, took a little bit longer for it to come to him. So the contrast of somebody who had to kind of work for everything,
as
opposed to somebody who everything kind of came easy.
Right.
The kind of approach that you would kind of take because of that. Like if you're not getting pushed, you're not getting challenged because things coming easy to you so much, it might be harder for you to kind of work through adversity when you actually finally hit with adversity. You know what I mean? Whereas KD is like that insecurity that he had, that he constantly felt that he wasn't good enough. He had to constantly kind of work through everything, kind of figure everything out. That kind of drove him and kind of pushed him to get to the point that he was at.
Yeah. Well, yeah, if stuff come natural to you, you could get real complacent. And like you said, putting him in the wrong environment, it was probably like the perfect storm, for Beasley. And kind of remind me of Vic a little bit. Like, he came out of, he was just all a natural talent. And, he even admitted years later, like, he never used to study the playbooks. He didn't really like practice that hard because he just knew he could turn it on at any time, but he never really got to do the little things in the game and the technical aspect. And I used to always wonder with Beasley, like, man, how come this guy, like, he would kill it and then he would kind of like fade away and then keep switching teams. And I'm like, and I would always wonder, like, how is he not gaining traction in the league? But that kind of makes sense after hearing, that type of background. Because I don't think I remember or realized he was from that DMV area, though. I don't think I remember. But that makes a lot of sense, though.
Yeah, and just sitting there the relationship now, like kind of when they was kind of both going through, their different things. Like KD was like, kind of understood why, Bees was going through everything he was going through, but still being there for him. And then the kind of flip side, like more recently, but probably not as significant extent, when KD made a switch, made a change going from over here, Oklahoma City to Golden State, and him being vilified for doing that, people criticizing him, stuff like that. But B's been one of the first people, like as soon as he saw him, his first year, Golden State, he's telling him, support him, give him a hug, like I'm there for you, I'm proud of you. Because the biggest thing, he saw him being happy.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess Michael Beasley probably understood like how hard it is to get to that point of trying to find that happiness, finding that peace, and realizing that's probably more important than making everybody else around you happy and making decisions based upon how it might impact other people. Because like another thing that kind of touched me when KD said, it was like one of the things that kind of influenced him making that move to Golden State. It's been an environment where he was when he was young and he was hooping, where it was like hooping was fun.
Yeah.
And I think people kind of take for granted, like on the outside looking in, like this is a job for guys.
Right.
It's their career, but it's still like kind of a job in a sense. And it's kind of, if you kind of put yourself in their shoes, like how does it feel, working for somebody or working at a place, an environment where you're not happy?
Right.
And then it kind of really kind of projected like you leaving to go somewhere, could be the rival company or rival organization, but you're happier there. But people criticizing you because you went there because they got better benefits or the hours are better or they got a free gym there or they got like a cafeteria with better food, all those types of things. Like everything over there is better. But you made the decision because overall it makes you happy. And first thing when KD made his change, first thing a lot of people said, he was soft, he was bitch, here, this, that, blah, blah, blah. Like, how can you do that? But the dude just ultimately wanted to be happy.
Yeah.
And he got the championship too, but he was, on top of it, he was playing an environment where he can just be him, be happy. That's all people wanted at the end of the day, is to be happy, man.
Yeah, I think people do lose sight of that with like professional athletes. There becomes this mentality often that because they get paid all this money that should be it and that's good enough. Like you'll hear that a lot. As much as you get paid, we don't want to hear you complain, or you should be happy that you got all this money. And you've seen it in certain political things now.
Yeah,
you're ungrateful, because you dare have an opinion on something. So yeah, no, you're right. I think, for fans, they're not really trying to hear the happiness aspect because they're already looking at sports as an escape from their reality they don't care for. So they don't want to hear about the entertainment's problems. They just want them to, shut up and play.
Exactly. So to speak.
So it's like, a lot of the times, that type of stuff does kind of get lost. On the flip side, though, I think sometimes, and I'll use the KD as an example, I think sometimes the persona that one presents can be a positive or a negative. Like, for the most part, he was pretty much like a squeaky clean guy and the person everybody rooted for. And then maybe a year or two ago, he started to kind of have a little edge to him where he would kind of like snip at reporters' questions, and he kind of had a little bit of a mean streak, but it was weird coming from him because it's like, why is this dude trying to act like he's tough? Like, he's not a tough guy. So when he left, he had to kind of develop some thick skin. So he kind of took, he kind of embraced the villain role, but people weren't used to him being a villain. So a lot of the angst and a lot of the anger and the outrage he got, I think was because people were so used to him being the, like the All-American, so to speak, good guy. And then now he's leaving to go play for the evil empire. So it's like, it just made him look like a villain. But like you said, he got to do what's best for himself, just like guys would do, what's best for their family or whatever. So I mean, I don't knock his decision. It was kind of weird compared to, older times. But again, this is not the same league. So it's like you got to do what you got to do. Plus, he had put in his time for a while with OKC. So it's like, if you want to win a title, go win that title. He tried it a while with Westbrook. It obviously wasn't working out for him. So a change of environment was probably best for both of them.
And to tie everything together, kind of what you were saying, maybe he was being snippy, being angry and feisty, whatever you want to call it, probably because he wasn't happy anymore.
Yeah,
it wasn't fun for him anymore.
Right.
And then that goes back to like an earlier point where we got things going on, holding in, not trying to show any emotion, those types of things, not trying to show the vulnerability. And then even taking another step further, like you said, the league is different. Maybe the league is different for the better now. Like people talk about how the league is softer and stuff like that. Maybe a lot of these cats are tired of putting that facade that a lot of the guys in the league, back when we grew up and watching it, kind of put on, or because they kind of bought into it, like almost like the wrestling type thing, like
right,
buying into the hell mode, those types of things, like it kind of just for show. Like it's really, at the end of the day, it's really just a game. You're making a lot of money off it, but it's still a game. Still, like you're still a person. Like I want to be entertained, but at the same token, like I don't care about all the extra stuff. Like I love basketball. I just want to see good basketball being played. All the extra stuff is, entertaining to an extent. But after a while, it kind of wears off, and you kind of see how the league was back in like the early 2000s. It wasn't as entertaining.
No.
It was kind of tough to watch. It's got back to the point now. It's a lot more entertaining to watch. Yeah. Now we at where we at right now. So. I think that might be a good point. Any to kind of, I guess, call it a night. I'm just looking at the time. I didn't realize how long we've been on, but I guess that's how it goes when we have a good conversation.
Yeah, some more in-depth things today, and yeah, I think it was a pretty good one.
Yeah. So again, that put a bow on episode 5. Like I said, Apple Tunes Podcast, SoundCloud, Google Play, all those normal stuff. Like it, subscribe it, listen to it, do whatever you want to do. As always, Atlanta has always been real. Sitting and chopping it up with you. Maybe we'll try it again next week. All things being equal.
Appreciate being on. Trust the process. Gotta put that in there.
always, man.
It's gonna be an interesting summer. I'll say that, but we'll see what happens. It's pretty cool to see how it's gonna be down this stretch as teams are trying to get in position, for the postseason, and it looks like it'll be a few new faces, so it should be pretty good.
Yeah, definitely can't wait, man. So as always, man, it's been real, and we'll be back at it again next week.
Yep, next week.
All right, homie, peace.
All right.